In October, Tony Box, a former FBI agent and federal prosecutor, announced that he would be running to be the Democratic nominee for Texas Attorney General. The first-time candidate will be facing off against former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski and State Senator Nathan Johnson of Dallas in the March 3rd primary. And to tell us more about his platform, we welcome Tony Box to the show. Tony, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you, Celeste. Glad to be here.
And if you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870.
Before we get into everything that you're here to talk about,
Yes.
we were talking about Uvalde and what's going on with this prosecution, and you have a rich background in this area that's probably better educated to speak on this topic than Celeste and I, other than our opinion. Your thoughts on it?
Well, it's a very, very difficult situation. I was a SWAT guy, and I've done many raids, not quite this big, but many, many raids and responses, and it's very difficult to make these cases or make a successful prosecution. However, this is quite close because the level of neglect borders on criminality, and it could be made. Mm-hmm. And so this case, I understand why the prosecutors brought it. And one is to show the victims and their families that they were working this case, and it was close, and they decided to go forward with it.
Yeah. And just for clarity, you are not involved in that case?
I was not at all.
So just so people know, it's just your opinion on that,
Yes, that
too.
is correct.
Speaking of something you are involved with, though,
Yes.
what made you decide that AG of the state of Texas, it's right for you right now?
So I looked out at the field. I talked to people about the field, and I'm into politics. I follow it very closely. And, and then I saw the field unfold, and people started talking to me about, asking me if I was interested, and I told them no, unequivocally not. I was at a law firm, had an active practice, and did not aspire to run for office, never aspired to run for office. I haven't even run for school council before. Mm-hmm. But once I saw the field unfold and people said, we really need someone different, someone with directly relevant experience, I started thinking about it, talking to a few more folks, and then decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Do you think it is possible in today's day and age in the state of Texas for a Democrat to win this seat?
Absolutely. Two things. One is 2026 is going to be a great year for Dems. The 2025 was a great year for Dems. 2026 is going to be better. The environment is going to be good. So that is a very important contributing factor. And second of all, if you have the right candidate in a great year, you can win in Texas. And we can win in Texas.
One of the campaign priorities that you have is focusing on restoring integrity in the Attorney General's office. Talk to me a little bit about that, and what do you mean when you say integrity?
Sure. I think that, I know that the current Attorney General has not lived up to the mission of the Attorney General's office, which means operating with integrity in terms of bringing cases that you bring and not bringing certain cases. And so that's what I mean. There's a lot of things I mean, not getting indicted and not,
Oh,
That's
you
a good
mean
place
that?
to start.
not being impeached and those things as well. But in terms of setting a culture of integrity where everyone in the agency as well as outside of the agency understands that we are impartial and we follow the facts and the Constitution is our guiding light. And so I don't think that's been done at all in this current Attorney General's office. And so I want to change that.
What about reorientating the Consumer Protection Department?
It's so incredibly important. That's one of the primary responsibilities of the AG, consumer protection. People are being defrauded. I have a personal story. When I was young, newly married, we had small children, and we put the large deposit down on furniture. That company went out of business. We thought we lost that money. We didn't have a ton of money ourselves. But the Attorney General got that back for us. They sued the furniture company. And that is the kind of thing that people don't know. People ask me, what does the Attorney General do? What can the Attorney General do? Mm-hmm. The Attorney General can work for the everyday people like that. And it was tremendous help for us, and I want to be a tremendous help for the people of Texas.
This may be a bit of an obvious question, but I think it's one that needs to be said in today's day and age.
Sure.
And I'm curious how you define the position of Attorney General. What is it? What does it do? What is it responsible for?
It's the chief legal officer of the entire state responsible for being the lawyer for all 30-plus million Texans, whether that means suing on behalf of Texans or defending Texas in a lawsuit.
And it's interesting because something that when we look at Attorney General Ken Paxton, he has no problem suing on behalf of Texans. And we look at this often, we see the amount of lawsuits that he's bringing forth. Some might say he really has done a great job. How do you counteract that in saying, you want to work for everybody, but you seem really nice?
I don't believe he's brought lawsuits on behalf of all Texans. I believe he's brought lawsuits on behalf of his party. For example, he's sued extensively, brought many lawsuits against Biden. He's brought no lawsuits against Trump. And there have been billions of dollars taken from the state of Texas, from Trump and the administration, and he hasn't brought any lawsuits on any of those. So I think many of his lawsuits are not for the state of Texas, they're for political reasons.
Let me go to the point that to get to the point that you could become,
Sure.
you first have to win the primary.
Yes.
So there's two other folks in that race that we're looking at. How do you differentiate yourself between, in addition to Jaworski and Johnson, how do you separate yourself out?
So I think my background's quite unique, and it's directly relevant. I have prosecutorial experience. I have experience at a large law firm. I'm a litigator. I've been in arguing cases. I understand a big case when I see one.
Yeah.
And there are big cases that come before the Attorney General office, billion-dollar cases. And so that's one, just in terms of legal experience. Two is experience in a large enforcement-type organization. It's really important to understand how you interact with your staff and how you interact with the people at large, and also really, like I mentioned before, what cases to bring and what cases not to bring. It's extremely important to know that trigger that you pull on behalf of the state versus a defendant is huge. It's incredibly important. And you don't pull that trigger lightly. And I think that distinguishes me because I've been there and I've made those decisions. I've decided not to bring a lot of cases.
Right, and I think it's very interesting, right, because you have a military and law enforcement background. How do you feel like that's going to translate into this position and this role?
So in terms of the military, it's the leadership. I've been leading soldiers for well over 20 years, and I led soldiers in difficult situations. I've served in Iraq. I've served in Afghanistan separately, not as a soldier, but as a high-level civilian. And so I've led people in difficult situations. The Attorney General office is going to be difficult. It's going to be a lot of controversy and decisions to be made. And so I believe that type of leadership experience from there as well as in DOJ will help me do well, and it will also distinguish me from the field, the Democratic field as well as the Republican field.
To go back into your definition of the AG's office, I'm curious how you see the relationship between that position and the governor and how you work together or work separate.
So I hope, ideally, you want to work really well with the governor, and I hope that I can work really well with the government. I expect that I will. I have worked well with people of all political parties all my entire life. And so as long as we have the same goal is to work on behalf of Texans, then we'll do well. But he's elected by the citizens of Texas, and I would be as well. And so I don't report to him. I would not report to him, and I would not do what he's told, nor would I take my direction from Washington, D.C.
Now, Tony, what do you think Texans want in an attorney general?
One is somebody they could be proud of. Somebody's ethical. I was at a conference in D.C., and a guy from abroad wanted to talk to me about Ken Paxton and about how infamous he was. And so he's known all over. So and Texans are not happy about that. I've talked to Texans every day, and they're not happy about it. So they want somebody they can be proud of. They want somebody who will be really efficient and really care about the people. And that's what they're seeking.
In this area around here, people may not know your background, your story, and there's an interesting point that kind of put you on this path back when you were 16 years old. If you could share that story.
Sure, I'll be happy to share it. So when I was 16, I was working at a grocery store as a bagger, and I helped a lady out to her car with her bags. While we were there, a guy came by and snatched her purse. I took off after him and tackled him and jumped on top of him, and while I was there, he stuck a gun in my stomach and shot me. And the bullet went in my liver and it remains in my liver. So over the course of time in the hospital while I was recovering, I thought about what I wanted to do with my life, and I decided to live a life of service. And I've been doing that ever since. I've tried to stay on that course, even when there was other incidents. For example, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a murder for hire plot on my life as well. And so I could have easily left law enforcement and just said, look, I don't need this type of work. But I continue to serve, and that's what I want to do here as Attorney General.
Tony, why was there a hire for, tell me about that story.
Let's not bury the lead.
Well, wait a minute. What was going on there?
When I was an FBI agent, a guy was unhappy about me investigating him. he was a white supremacist. So he was upset about a couple of different things. But he was upset about that, and so he actually paid a guy to kill me. And so they foiled the plot. The director of the FBI called me and said, "Hey, Tony, we want to get you out of there. We want to move you out." And I said, "Nope, I'm staying right here. I'm finishing this case, and I'm staying in the FBI, and I'm here to serve, and that's what I'll do."
The shift from being in the law enforcement arena to the legal world, what caused that shift?
I wanted to do something different. I went to law school at night when I was an FBI agent. And so when I became a lawyer and passed the bar, I said, look, I went to law school, I've studied, I've passed the bar. I wonder what practicing law would be like. And so it was a really difficult decision. I left my buddies in the FBI, and I still talk to them. But I'm happy that I did practice law. It led me to where I am today.
Yeah.
Political arena, harder, easier than you thought it would be getting into that?
More difficult, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely more difficult.
Why?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
It's one is the size of the state of Texas, and it's really important to talk to as many Texans as you can, and I want to do that. But so that the size and to be able to get my message out to all the people. You can't get everybody, but I want to, and it's difficult.
We are speaking with Tony Box, who is running to be the Democratic nominee for Texas Attorney General. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. You know, Tony, when we look at Texans' needs, a lot of the issues that come up to the forefront is infrastructure. How would you handle working and making sure that rural areas and urban areas are getting what they need in regards to infrastructure and funding for that?
Yeah, that's really important. So what I want to do is every office needs to understand that they work for the people, and we are going to establish liaisons with every single market in Texas. Large markets, mid-markets, small markets. Individuals will be out in the community saying the Attorney General's office is open for business, and we will accept your complaints and your information, and we will fight for you. For example, one of the real issues is when funding was cut from NIH and some of the grants, the hospitals were closing or on the verge of closing. Money was taken up from Texas, and it was not, Ken Paxton didn't even fight to get it back. And so that's what I say to rural Texans, you need someone who's going to fight to get the money back for the rural hospitals.
Another area that is big in Texas, border security, immigration enforcement, federal-state legal conflicts have dominated our issues here. What do you think the role of the AG is in that area and shaping those debates?
So it's predominantly a federal issue. And so for Ken Paxton and some of the rhetoric, it's just performative. There's not a ton that the Attorney General can do, but what the Attorney General can do, refrain from doing, is issuing press releases and pretending as if he's going to somehow be an enforcer of enforcement when that's not his job.
If the governor is moving the National Guard along the border and setting up new policies, how do you handle that?
So to the extent that it's illegal, I would have a conversation with the governor and say, look, I don't believe it's optimal. To the extent that it's unconstitutional, then I would sue.
Yeah.
And do you think that moving forward, what do you think is going to be one of your biggest challenges in that role if you were to get elected?
So I think that turning the page from the Ken Paxton era will be difficult. I think that a lot of people will expect business as usual, and so that I won't operate the same way, and so it's gonna be difficult for a lot of people to accept that.
Okay. You get into office, you win the primary,
Sure.
You win the election. What's your first priority?
My first priority is to talk to every employee and understand that we are going to establish a culture of excellence and a culture of integrity. The second is to look at every single thing that office has done, whether it's a lawsuit or whether it's a letter to say you're under investigation, which I don't agree with. You shouldn't send out letters to tell people you're under investigations. And we're going to evaluate whether those things should remain or should be discarded.
Which is the one that's sticking in your craw, as the expression goes right now, that you think this is a place that needs my attention right now?
So
a particular issue.
Well, one thing that I do want to wade into is the Dreamers Act, where the Ken Paxton almost single-handedly got rid of that. And to the extent that there's an opportunity for me to reverse that or to express the citizens' displeasure and the unconstitutionality of what he did, then I would do that.
So then how do you pursue that? How do you do that?
If there's legal lawsuits and litigation, if you can.
But in that federal policy?
You can sue the federal government.
So you would sue the federal government for Dreamers and that. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And again, Tony Box is running to be the Democratic nominee for Texas Attorney General. The primary election is on March 3rd. Tony, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you. Glad to be here.